Hi, welcome to episode 128 of The Corner of Knit and Tea. I'm Laura, also known as Fluffy K on Ravelry, Fluffy Kira on Instagram and Twitter. I blog over at thecornerofknitandtea.com, which is where this episode and every episode show notes will be. I have an Etsy shop called The Corner of Knit and Tea, which is where I sell my hand-spun yarns. And we have a Ravelry group called The Corner of Knit and Tea. If you haven't come over and joined us, you really should. We are right in the middle of a sock-along, and that is running from May 1st through June 30th. There are prizes, random number generator prizes for those who complete pairs of socks. So if you are a sock knitter or interested in knitting something small now that the weather's getting warm, definitely come over and check us out. So hello, how are you? It is Sunday, May 28th. It is Memorial Day weekend here in the States, which means I am off tomorrow, which is just lovely. It sort of signifies the kickoff of summer, and the weather is getting warmer here. And so we're just having a really lazy weekend. It feels like forever since I've recorded. I don't skip very often, and I skipped last weekend because we went to Chicago to see my niece and nephew. And overall, that was a really great trip. Unfortunately, my niece got really sick on the Saturday. She got some kind of stomach bug, and luckily Daddy was home because Aunt Laura doesn't handle puke very well. But she was actually feeling quite a bit better by Sunday, so we did get to spend time with the kids, and we really had a great time. My niece is a little over 3.5 now, and she is just a lot of fun, and she had so much fun with her uncle, who just played every single game with her ever. And I mean, just everything. They made paper airplanes and ran around the house and just all kinds of things. Unfortunately, the weather was kind of drizzly most of the days, so we stayed inside, but they still managed to have a great time. And my nephew is 7 months old. He is scooting around, so it's no longer safe to leave him where you put him down. And generally he is a super happy, easygoing kid with huge smiles, so he's pretty adorable. The only thing he doesn't do is sleep real well, so we had a lot of coaxing him to try and take naps and go down for the night. But otherwise it was wonderful, and I posted a few pictures on Instagram. My niece didn't really want to take photos with us, so I don't have so many of her, but we had a great weekend, and then we got home and went back to work, and now it's going to be another short week this coming week, so we're having a good time. So I got lots of knitting done, so let's start the podcast. Today I am drinking Moonlight Jasmine. It is from Rishi Tea in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and it is organic green tea with jasmine. Pretty simple. It is from Tea Runners, which is a subscription service that I have been a member of since early this year. It is done by, let me think about this for a second, Jewel State. She is the one who played Kaylee on Firefly. She and her husband run this subscription service now, and it's relatively recent. I got in sort of at the beginning. It's called Tea Runners, and every month they assemble four different tea selections from all over the world, and they send you selections in the box. It's approximately 1 ounce per packet, and they send those to you, and it's $25 a month, and so you get like all these great teas that have won. For instance, this says Tea Championship winner, first place Green Jasmine. Anyway, so I decided to try that today for the podcast, and I think this is the same mug I used last week. It was clean on the counter in the kitchen, so I grabbed it. It is my Jenny the Potter from my trip to, let me think about this, Maryland Sheep and Wool, I think. And I just love it. So, yeah, green tea jasmine. Ooh, that is amazing. I think it would also be really nice iced, but today I just made it hot, and I love jasmine tea. A lot of people don't like it because it's kind of flowery. And in general, I'm not a super flowery person in my teas, but I really like jasmine, and this is The green is very mild. It doesn't taste at all grassy. And then the jasmine is just, it's not overpowering. It's pretty, it's like there as part of the finish, and I really, really like that. I added just a touch of sugar to mine because I'm terrible. I like my tea sweet. I mean, even at the Chinese restaurant, sometimes I ask for sugar. But this is delicious. I'm going to enjoy that. Okay, let's talk about the knits. Whoop. This is my second pair of socks finished for the sock along. These are sweet tomato heel socks. I learned a new heel for this one. That is a pattern by Kat Bordy. And these are the Opal Best Friend sock yarn. I have enough left over that Miss Roxy will be getting a pair of socks out of these. I just have to slot those in somewhere. And I am super happy with these. I have not tried them on yet. The heel does seem a little big, and it may be too big for me. I didn't wear them because I wanted to keep them nice so I could show them off. But I'm going to pull these off the blockers and maybe, well, I don't even know if I'll get to wear them right now because it's supposed to be in the 80s this week, so I really won't need socks. But I'll try them on and see how I feel about it. It was a very interesting construction of a heel, not terribly hard. Although I did do the first one and then was like, oh, okay, I got it. And when I got to the second one, I was like, I don't remember what I did on the first one. So I did have to go back to the pattern. But yeah, so that's my second pair of socks done for the sock along. And the reason I have two done at this point is because I was half done on both of these when I started. I had one sock done, and then I just knit the second sock this month. So really, I've only knit one pair of socks this month. It's just that, and whips are allowed, so it's not like I'm actually cheating, but yeah. So that is those. I finished these in the morning on the way up to Chicago, so I knew I only had like a little bit of the foot left, so these have actually been done for a while now, and I will put them aside. This week, once I got home, I turned my attention to starting some of the kids' winter gear. I realize it is only the beginning of summer, but every year for the fall, I knit them both birthday sweaters, and then I knit them winter gear, hats and mittens. And every year I feel like I hold off till September or October, and then I'm always rushing at the end to try and get everything done. I say September, October because we usually see my family for Thanksgiving, and so we do all of our gift exchanging there because we don't see each other for Christmas. And so I'm always rushing to try and get everything done, and I hate that. So I started picking out some hats and mittens and things like that just so that I could start on the kid stuff. So the first pattern that I saw not that long ago and thought it would be perfect is a hat called Impish. It is by Catherine Folkerth. And I went ahead and knit it in some yarn that I had from Squoosh. It is her Ultra Worsted, which is a superwash merino, and the colorway was Pucker Patch, which was an orange, and this is so cute. It is meant to have a little point at the back because they're supposed to look a little elven or impish. It's got this cute ribbing here, and then it's got an I-cord and ties for around the neck, and I am thrilled. I knit it in the toddler size, which may be a little bit big for him, but hopefully it will fit okay, and maybe he'll get 2 winters out of it. And this was a super simple knit. It took me most of the week to finish it because I was just doing odd rows here and there, but I love it, and I still have just under half the ball left, which from my records should be enough to knit a pair of mittens for him, so he will have a sweet little hat and mittens. But I can recommend that pattern. It was pretty easy and super cute. So we won't see pictures of him in this for a while, obviously, because we're just going into summer, but I can't wait to send that along. So that is my second finished object for the week. Let's go on to whips. So I showed you my Buccaneer shawl. It is Buccaneer by Justina Lorkowska. And I was using my Rhinebeck yarn, which is O-Wool O-Wash, which is their fingering superwash merino. And then I was also using like about a set and a half of Iachos. I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm sure I'm butchering it because it's Greek. From 100 Ravens, a gradient set of minis. And I am super far into it. I think I was partway through the first color section when I showed you last time, because there's like a solid section and then there's a color gradient, like feather and fan section. And I think I was partway through this section when I showed you last time. I want to say maybe I was like on the third color or something. So I finished that, and then I did the large body section on the shawl, and actually it was very sweet. While I was in Chicago, Roxy asked if I would teach her to knit. And so she came out and she did a couple of rows with me on this shawl, where she put her hands on mine, and then at one point she said I want to do it myself, so I put my hands on hers. And so a couple rows of this shawl are actually knit with the two of us. The rows were pretty wide at that point, so usually she'd get through like half a row. But, so we'd do that, and then we'd walk away, and then a little while later she'd say, can we knit some more? And she'd come settle in my lap. But that was really sweet, and it makes this shawl kind of special. So now I am in the stripe section at the top, and, honestly, this shawl would be done, except that this is giving me fits. I have ripped this so many times, I cannot tell you. Now I'm into the greens and blues section. So I don't want to give too much away because this is a paid for pattern, but the second set of waves is supposed to be slightly smaller than the first set. Sorry, she refers to the sections of feather and fan as waves. And so the way the shawl is written, the second set is supposed to be kind of, they're supposed to be thinner than the first set. But the problem is that I have these gradient skeins, and I'd really like to use as much of the gradient skein as possible. So I have been sort of rewriting this portion of the pattern, just trying to keep my approximate rows, my rows approximately equal to what the pattern calls for. And honestly, I have ripped this section probably 3, 4, 5 times. And I found another mistake last night and was like, I'm not ripping this again. So if I can finish this weekend, I would love to. Like I said, I'm in the greens and blues section now. I have one more color. I'm in the middle of kind of this turquoise blue. I have a slightly lighter turquoise blue that would be the next one. And then I just have the final not very long rows. This is constructed again the way, a little bit similar to the way that the Find Your Fade is, which is you're decreasing stitches at one side of the marker and increasing on the other. You're overall maintaining the same stitch count. So I really don't have that much left to decrease, and then I would be done. I will not run out of yarn on this. Whether or not I will run out of patience because I keep having to rip it out is another question. So even I'm not infallible, although this is probably my own fault. So part of it is that I'm changing the pattern, and so sometimes I keep screwing up the pattern. Part of it is that apparently I can't knit anymore, and I can't follow like which rows are supposed to be knit and which rows are supposed to be purled, and like I just keep screwing it up and I just keep pulling it out, and it's making me crazy. Because I don't rip very often. I mean, I know no one likes to rip, but I really don't rip very often. And this shawl is kind of sapping my will to live right now. I mean, I love it, and I can't wait to have it finished, but and it's all user error. It is not the pattern, because like I said, at this point I am sort of modifying the pattern, so it's all my own problems. But it's making me crazy. Anyway, so by next week, this should be done. I'm hoping to actually finish it by the 31st. So on the 1st, I can cast on some new things. So that is the Buccaneer shawl. Almost done. I am really hoping that maybe tomorrow I can sit and crank it out and finish it. So that is that one. Finally, I have one new cast on, and let me grab my sock blockers. I cast on a new pair of socks when I finished the opal socks. So I got fairly far. I'm through the heel at this point and into the foot. And I think I had showed you this yarn. I'm almost positive I did. These are the Union Square socks by Mina, the Knitting Expat. It's part of her New York sock collection. which is a great pattern collection that she is releasing this year. She's releasing one on the first of the month for 6 months running, which means June is just about to come out. I believe 3 of them, yes, it was March, April, May, so we are halfway through. And like I said, these are the Union Square socks, and the yarn is another Crafty Girl, her strong sock, which is, I believe, an 80/20 superwash merino nylon, and it is in the colorway Punky Brewster. So that is the second sock, or that is the first sock that I'm working on of this set, and I hope to finish this set for the knit-along. So that is what I've got going on my needles, and it's my lunchtime project. And like I said, it was a car project too. So, and on this one, I did an Eye of Partridge heel just because there were so many pretty colors in the yarn. I don't know how well you can see that, but there were so many pretty colors in the yarn. I really wanted those to show through. So that is what I'm working on now, and we'll start the second sock. Maybe I'll crank this out tomorrow too. I don't know. But socks I'm a little less worried about. So yes, there you go. So that is my whips. Coming up on June 1st, which is Wednesday this week, Camp Loopy kicks off, and I am going to participate. For the first project, we had to do, well, so the theme this year is dinosaurs. And we had to do something textured, and that could be either textured in the yarn, like speckled yarn, or yarn with sequins or something else in it, stellina, so it's sparkly, or we needed to do something with texture in the pattern. So I chose to knit a pair of socks. I got a beautiful skein of yarn. I'll bring that next week. And I am going to do a pair of socks with some kind of texture on them. I'm thinking about the My Cup of Tea socks. I need to look at that because I don't know if those are going to be too big, too many stitches for my foot, and if I can't modify it exactly how I'll deal with that. But I have had those in my queue for a while, and they are My Cup of Tea socks. So I'm thinking about those, and then I will look. If not those, then I'll look and find something else. So I should have those to at least the very beginnings to show you. And so I'll have those 2 pairs of socks on the needles for June. And hopefully we'll finish both of them, which will give me 4 pairs of socks in 2 months, which is pretty good for me. I will probably also work on a hat for Roxy in the next few weeks. I have a bunch of superwash merino that I ordered for hats for the kids, so I will probably work on something for her next. Maybe the mittens, and then I haven't decided if I'm going to start anything else for June. I had kind of wanted to start a sweater for myself, but the way the summer's laying out, I think I'm going to knit a sweater for Roxy in July for Camp Loopy, and then in August I might knit a sweater for me for Camp Loopy. So I don't know if I want to start a sweater in June, because I just don't know how the rest of it's going to lay out. Also in there, the end of June and beginning of July is Tour de Fleece. And as you know, I do not knit very much during Tour de Fleece. I mostly spin. That is spinning every year that I do along with the Tour de France. It runs usually from the end of June through the middle-ish of July, whenever the Tour de France dates run, and I spin and watch the Tour de France. Which brings me to one other thing. We did have one eager member of our group start a thread about Tour de France and Tour de Fleece, and I have a question. Is anyone interested in doing a team this year? I did do a team last year, and we had some participants. I know that only some of you are spinners, so my question is open to anyone who wants to participate. Are you interested in doing a Tour de Fleece team for the Corner of Knit and Tea? If you are, I'm happy to do one. If we only have a couple people, I might just let us spin on other teams, but if you are interested, let me know. It would basically be the same as last year. It is just for fun. So do as much or as little as you want. Share as much or as little as you want. I usually end up spinning a couple hours every day. I finish a ton of yardage usually. I think generally I finish about 2 pounds of fiber in the 3 weeks of the tour because I basically give up my knitting time and do nothing but spin. So, and you do not have to do that. Some people have had a goal of spinning for 10 or 15 minutes a day. You know, whatever you want it to be, spindle, wheel. Basically, my team has as few rules as possible. Spin. That's pretty much it. Post photos of your finished spins. If we do a team, I will do some prizes at the end. And that's pretty much it. And also you can apply stuff that you had on the wheel before. I mean, whips or whatever you want to do. And then there's no limits on fiber, on type of spinning, on anything. I'm pretty agnostic as far as that goes. So if you are interested in doing a Tour de Fleece team, please leave me a comment or send me a PM. I want to get at least, you know, 5 to 10 people together if we're going to do it, just because that makes for more fun conversation. But let me know. So let's go into spinning. A sip of tea. And let's talk about spinning. I actually did not do very much spinning in the last couple weeks. I only finished that one braid that I showed you. I just spent my time knitting and doing other things, and of course I didn't take a wheel with me. The last braid that I showed you was blues and purples and greens and yellows, and it was kind of crazy. It was called Boil and Bubble by Southern Cross Fiber, and it was on South African Superfine, which is South African Superfine Merino, which is the softest merino I have ever spun. It also tends to spin fairly thin. My guess is this is in the high 300 yard range, and this is Boil and Bubble, sorry. I spun this as a fractal, so there's lots and lots of barber pulling and then a few small sections where the colors come together. I really love this. This would be a beautiful shawl. This would be a fun accessory for a wee one, although it is not superwash. They would make cushy socks, just all kinds of things. So that is what I have here. It is still wet, so I will be taking glamour shots later today and then getting it up in the Etsy shop probably tomorrow, if that's something that you're interested in. I don't think the colors are coming across as nice on the monitor here, but I will definitely take some nice photos so you can see what they look like. So that brings me to this week. I picked up something on D-Stash a while ago. It is from Wound Up Fiber Arts. It is hand-dyed fiber and hand-spun yarn, organic Polworth in the colorway Cupid. Here is the card for you, and here is the braid. I know that pinks, I think I found this during my search for pinks and purples when people were looking for yarn for pink protest hats and other things. So this is pinks and purples, and this one should be fun, and everyone really liked the pinks and purples, so I'm hoping that maybe someone will see this and want this. Again, this is definitely for the shop, and that is what I will be spinning this week. And actually I have a spinning Sunday today, so that is what I will be taking with me to spin today. So I think that finishes up the podcast. I appreciate you sticking with me, even though I missed last week. I really do try not to miss too often, but it just didn't work, and I didn't have enough done last week to be able to really show you anything. So this kind of worked better. But I hope that you have had a lovely week if you are in the US. I hope you're enjoying your long holiday weekend. If you are outside the US, I still hope you're enjoying your weekend, even though it may not be a long holiday weekend. And I will say, until I see you next time, happy knitting, happy spinning, happy sipping, and I'll see you next week. Bye!